Hey friends, today I am recreating a farm in The Sims 2 for the McGregor family here in Brindleton Bay. Let's jump right in. So this house is for the McGregor family, specifically Leod. I'm hoping I'm saying his name correctly. I believe he is supposed to be a Scottish Sim. At least that's kind of the styling that he has in the Sims 2 version. But I couldn't find a good pronunciation of his name, Leod, only as part of a last name like McLeod. So hopefully I'm saying that correctly. But yeah, it's just him. He had a farm in River Blossom Hills, which is the world in The Sims 2. And yeah, I'm building this on the lot that normally has the Hecking family, Brent and Brant. So I kicked them out and bulldozed their house, and I'm building a house for Leod now. So yeah. And the original version was pretty simple. It's just a 2-bedroom house. Only one of the bedrooms is furnished as a bedroom. The other one's kind of like an office. So I did that sort of layout again. And then the main floor, it's got this pretty large living room and then this kitchen dining area. I rearranged the lower level a little bit. So I started off with the original layout, but I'll move there's like a small powder room downstairs that I'll move a little bit later. But yeah, it's got this like nice front deck area. So I got that in there, did this nice brick foundation, and then these shuttered windows. And I think it turned out pretty nice. It looks like a pretty classic farmhouse, at least here in the US. You know, I'm not sure what other farmhouses look like in other countries, but yeah, this is kind of what they look like here. At least from, I'm originally from Iowa, so very familiar with a classic farmhouse here. Kind of reminds me of the movie Twister for some reason. That movie absolutely terrified me as a child and probably created some long-lasting trauma, but we're not going to talk about that tonight. Anyway, the back of the house here has a very large deck as well, and it'll also have its own pond in a little bit. I'll put that in later on. But yeah, inside, very kind of classic, traditional styling. It's kind of odd. The Sims 4 has very unique styles. Like there's a lot of cottage sort of decor and all of that, and then there's like the horse ranch, which is a little bit more southwestern, but there isn't a lot of, I don't know, like just country sort of aesthetic, at least not like US kind of rural country style items. Cats and Dogs has a little bit of it, but it's it's more coastal, more New England style. So yeah, I think that's maybe like one thing that they're kind of missing. I did use the country kitchen kit for the kitchen. That obviously made sense and that worked out pretty well in here. But yeah, with the Sims 2 Seasons, which is where this sim is from, that pack was very country themed, interestingly. So yeah, it's been kind of a little tricky decorating in that style in The Sims 4 when I've been doing these recreations, but yeah, I think at least the kitchen, I think the kitchen turned out pretty well here. But I'm definitely not saying we need another kind of rural cottagey country themed pack. I think we've gotten a lot of that, so I'm okay with it not being. I will just push through. I will be brave and struggle on. But yeah, been a little bit of a challenge. And I kind of skipped forward through my struggle with the upper cabinets. For some reason, I could not get the sort of, I think it's technically an outer corner cabinet. A lot of times I can use that for like an end piece, but it just did not want to work on the specific wall segment that I was trying to get it to work on next to the fridge. That was really weird. I had like bulldoze the wall and was trying to like redraw it in and do a bunch of things, but yeah, I could not get it to go back in there. So that was a little unfortunate, but yeah, again, I will soldier on here. But I also skipped ahead because I pulled out a bunch of different clutter items. I put those all around. And I did playtest this quite a bit before posting it to the gallery. So everything seems to work. I was a little concerned with kind of lifting things up on that kind of fake shelf on the stove. But it seemed to work fine. He was able to cook on there, no problem. So yeah, I think that worked out nicely. That's kind of a nice little detail on the stove there. Now I'm working on the living room, and I did the thing where I had basically decorated it sort of off camera, and then I pull everything out, and I'm just kind of replacing things. Just since I was being very indecisive on there, and if I tried to cut that all up, it would not have worked very well, I don't think. So I think this is a little bit better experience for everyone. But yeah, the original living room, it was actually pretty sparsely decorated, which is, a pretty common theme with EA builds, even back in like the Sims 2 days. There just weren't a lot of items put in the houses. I don't know if they were just really concerned about them, not working very well, like your Sims not being able to get around. But yeah, it was pretty empty. Like the original, there was like the fireplace, there was like a small sofa facing the fireplace with like a coffee table and a rug, like a small bookshelf, and like I think a table with a phone on it. So yeah, not a whole lot going on there. I, obviously furnished it quite a bit more than the original version. And yeah, I moved the powder room over here, and he seemed to be able to use it just fine. I was a little worried that it'd be a little bit too small with this angled wall, but seemed to work okay. But yeah, in the original version, it was like over on the wall next to the fireplace. But that was just kind of weird. So I thought this worked a little bit better, especially with the stairs right there. I think that layout makes more sense. So yeah, you have to let me know what you think about that. And here on this front deck, fairly simple. I've got this small bench item, the rocking chair, a couple of decorative items. And yeah, it's kind of interesting how, at least for me, I go through cycles with certain objects. Like I've been using that 2-seater bench item from Cats and Dogs quite a bit lately. I'd kind of forgotten that it existed, just because for some reason it's classified as a sofa, which doesn't make any sense. Like, who is putting that wooden bench in their living room? That would be so strange. So yeah, I really wish they would go through the whole catalog, honestly, and reclassify things, because yeah, I definitely forgot that existed until recently. But yeah, I thought it worked out really nicely out on the kind of front porch there, and then with a rocking chair, of course. And yeah, now I'm just upstairs. I kind of flew through the bathroom there. Fairly simple. There's only one full bathroom in this house, but since it's only a 2-bedroom and really a 1-bedroom, I thought that would still be fine. And for the bedrooms, and really pretty much all the rooms, they had very like stylized country themed wallpapers. So I wanted to try to recreate that as close as possible. So I used this sort of gingham look in his bedroom, which I thought worked out pretty well. Got some photos in here. One of those items is actually supposed to be a patent from Discovery University, which I thought was kind of cool. I thought maybe the lore could be that, he had an ancestor who invented something, and they have like the original patent and whatnot. I thought that was kind of fun. So I put that in there, and yeah, I don't know. Part of me kind of imagines that this is like maybe not the house he grew up in, but maybe a house that's been like in his family that was left to him, and that's why he's living here. Because maybe it'd be a little bit too small for just him, or I guess for his family growing up. But it certainly could be. I mean, he could have been in that smaller room, and his parents had the larger one. But I don't know. I thought that would still be kind of interesting, though, if it was just like a family house. And then in the original house, it did have a barn out in the back. So I definitely wanted to recreate that. Classic red barn, these white sliding doors, which I really, I kind of wish those doors were animated in the game. Like they would actually like open and close. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, I also got him a horse, which you saw in the intro. I don't think they had horses in The Sims 2 at all. So yeah, he didn't have a horse then, but he has a horse now, and yeah, a lot of fun. I was having him ride the horse around all over the place to take video and stuff, and I got a horse who was like very energetic and like just friendly and stuff, so she was like jumping around and stuff, which was really funny. But yeah, so the barn is much more useful in this game than it would have been in The Sims 2. The Sims 2 version was like, it had like fake pens in there, like for animals, but you couldn't have any animals like that in there. So yeah, kind of a weird space, but in this game, obviously I've got the horse bed in there. I put in a couple of other activity items like the workbench and the flower arranging table. I thought that would make sense for his character. And yeah, I thought that worked out nicely. I did forget to put in the food trough in the video, but I do put that in before I uploaded it. So it will be in there if you wanted to download the house on the gallery. And now I'm working on the pond area, which came together a little bit easier than I was expecting. The Sims 2 version, it was pretty simple. They didn't have a ton of landscaping options for ponds in that game, but he did have his own pond in the Sims 2 version, so definitely wanted to make sure it was included. And I probably added a little bit more detail than was in that one. But yeah, I do a bit more of that later on. And then I put in this fence from Horse Ranch. I thought that was perfect for this lot. I thought that would make sense to have some sort of fenced in area, especially with a horse and with this really big farm area that I'll do in a little bit. And yeah, this fence worked out really well. I'd kind of forgotten that it had existed, but it is perfect. It's exactly what I wanted in this game, or in this, like, for the lot. So yeah. And one thing that annoys me about this fence and most of the fences in this game is how the fence posts appear as you're drawing them. Because, if you mess up the length of the fence and you want the fence posts in certain spots, you kind of have to just redraw it until you get it correct. So yeah, that's kind of annoying. I really wish there was a better solution for that, but here we are. And yeah, I put up the barn quilt. I thought that would be a nice touch on here. Maybe not quite Scottish, but certainly, fits in well to even to Brindleton Bay, I think. Even though it's maybe a little bit more coastal, barn quilts are typically more Midwestern, I would say. They were pretty common where I grew up, so yeah, I thought that was a nice touch. And then I skipped ahead here with the landscaping and then also the farm area. So with the farm, I was debating a little bit on how I wanted it to look. So I don't know, I ended up going with just trying to have as many different plants as possible. So I ended up actually downloading a room off of the gallery that had all of the plants basically. So I'll try to remember to put up a screenshot of that if you want to check that out. But yeah, and then I just kind of pulled out a bunch of different landscaping items. I think that usually works out best for me just because I'm so indecisive. So usually a bit easier for me to just pull out a bunch of items and then kind of place them for the actual video. So for this, I didn't want it to be too manicured necessarily. I wanted it to be a little bit more wild looking, a little bit rougher around the edges, if you will. So I put in a lot more kind of grass details, especially along the fence line. I thought that was a nice touch. Put in this kind of overgrown grass around the trees. So the farm itself is very well maintained and tended, but the rest of the lot is a little bit more wild. He doesn't really, care as much about how the rest of it looks. He just, loves the outdoors, loves gardening, but doesn't really care about lawn maintenance, if you will. So yeah, I think that kind of makes sense for his character. But yeah, and then over on this wall, since there weren't any windows here and there weren't any windows on this wall in the original, I just put up some more, or I just put up some vines and some like taller grass. And I think that worked out to kind of finish that little area off. I also ended up doing a lot of terrain paint on this lot. And I'm happy to say that it did not delete on me when I reloaded the lot. So very thankful for that. That would have been really annoying. But yeah, I didn't do like gravel paths or anything. I imagine he would keep it very kind of earthy looking. So I just did that sort of worn down look between the house and the barn. I thought that would make a little bit more sense for this lot. And now I'm just finishing up by doing the lighting around the lot. Do a bunch of these sort of lawn lights, I guess, throughout. Tried to keep in with the theme of barn and everything. I put in these sort of beams, which I do actually change a bit afterward, which I think you should be able to see in the video tour. But yeah, and speaking of the video tour, this is going to wrap it up for me. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. That helps a lot. And subscribe if you'd like to see more. And again, it is on the gallery if you'd like to download it. Thanks again. Have a great day.